Okay. Always balancing on Nutella and a milk jug. Okay. Cool. I'm actually gonna turn this around so I talk to you guys instead of looking at myself the whole time. Cool. So, today is 13th of February, and yeah, I haven't done one of these in a long time. It's been really bumpy and up and down and awfully sad at times and awful, but also really great. Yeah, so you've caught me on a good day. Actually, the reason it's taken me so long to make this is because I've had probably like 2 weeks of bad days or not so great days. So, good day means video blog, and that means we're gonna answer some IAP questions. IAP, ooh. So, in the middle of January, I was supposed to talk to you about one thing so far that I have learned in my country, and I took some notes. And I remember that I was really shocked to hear, I was in class one day or something, like my very first week we had an intensive French class, which is like a week 9 to 5 of just French grammar. And so I was really shocked to hear somebody say homos, like les homo, like plural, the homos is what that translates to. And like you also say les bi, les trans, and like it means like the trans, like the trans kids, or like the bi kids, or like the homos. It's like saying the blacks, you know, like it's just an awful, like, let me group this category of people together. That's unnecessary. Like, it's really offensive in the States, right? Like to do something like this. But here that's what everybody says. And so when I first heard it, I was like, oh my god, like why are you saying that? Like I'm not comfortable with you saying that like, because I'm a queer kid, you know? So that was really shocking, and I've learned that here it's just like typical. That's what everybody says instead of saying les homosexuels, because it's just like every time you want to say the homos, it's just easier to shorten it, right? Like it happens. So that covers both one thing I've learned, and I'm also looking at the computer. One experience I've had that shocked me or surprised me. And the last mid-January question is, what is an eye-opening experience you've had so far? And so one of the most eye-opening experiences that I've had is that, well, I'll back it up and say that I live in the projects. Like Lille is a huge metropolitan area, and it's got many smaller cities surrounding it, and the metro hits all of them. Like, it's a fantastic metro system. That's expensive, but it can be cheap if you live here, like if you buy the monthly pass kind of thing. And what has been eye-opening for me is living in this awful part of town. Like, it's very poor here. And I live in a university residence, and I didn't notice at first. Like, what was eye-opening was that I had no clue. Because if you look outside, France is still cute, right? But it's cute, but it's poor here. Like, it's even cuter if you go downtown. It's infinitely cuter, actually. So, I was really shocked to live here, and I've had a lot of little boys come up to me and asking for money. And it's heartbreaking. Like, it kills me. And the thing is, a lot of them are Romani. So the most eye-opening thing outside of the fact that I live in this neighborhood is that the racism here is so different. You know, I see in France, there aren't as many people of color, maybe not in where I'm living, you know, like I see people of color around and I'm like, oh, hi, like not white French people, you know? And I guess as far as racism goes, I haven't seen as much of an issue with, you know, people getting mad at somebody else because of their complexion, whereas like in the South, obviously you've got people who are like, oh, you're either black or you're white, and if you're black, or if you're not white, we know, and we notice, and everybody notices, and it's just this terribly like racist like thing still going on. But here people are prejudiced against Romani, and that means like, it's called gypsy, you know, like in the States a lot of people say gypsy. It's this Eastern European group that's immigrated here, and they are denied access to land. They aren't allowed to live on the land or own the land. A lot of them travel, you know, they're migrant, and it's awful. I was on the metro one day, and I was going home from the market, and I live right next, like one metro stop away is the big supermarket, and it's one of the cheapest ones in town. So people come from all over town to go to this one place. And so this woman gets on the train with her son, and she is dressed in, you know, like secondhand clothes, and like there's mud all over her shoes, and her little boy is dressed the same way, and like she doesn't care, you know, like she's like whatever, and there's not a problem to be had. But she gets on the train and is standing in front of me and next to this other French woman, And this French woman is immaculate, you know, like she's got like the perfect pea coat and the perfect leather, like mid calf boots with some like really nice jeans tucked into them and a blouse and like a scarf, and perfect. And like magazine cover. And so this woman gets on the train with her little boy and looks like this, and also looks Romani, like she has the darker hair and like a tan complexion, and this woman just immediately like gets a scowl. Just like, and I don't even know, like it was just ridiculous because, you know, I was standing there and I had never seen this before, and, you know, I wasn't sure what I was seeing or like why this woman was acting this way to this Romani woman and her son, because this is literally the first like instance of racism that I had understood as that. And this little boy starts like, he's like 3 or 4, you know, he's tiny, and he's just having a good time, like running up and down the train and screaming, and like every time the train stops he falls into the French woman, and like it was just, I don't know, she kept getting more and more pissed, and like she eventually like picked up her stuff and moved to the other side of the train. And I made eye contact with this woman, you know, who was being obviously like glared at, and I was like, hey, and she was like, hey, you know, and like her little boy's just like, whatever. So it's interesting, and like I'm kind of met this person here who wrote me a message on Facebook when I was talking about the racism in France, and she was like, yeah, you know, those little boys who ask you for money, they aren't French, like they're those people. And I was just like, wow, you know, like it's interesting that we're not going to call it racism, but it most definitely is that. And it's weird, and it's funny because I don't realize it's going on around me a lot of the time, so it's just strange. I wonder if like French people who go to the States don't see the racism happening, you know, at first. Alright, I'm gonna stop it here, and then I'm gonna come back, and we're gonna talk about February.